Today on Rappler, the Philippines Graph Court suspends Juan Ponce Enrile as senator. The Liberal Party scrambles to understand President Aquino's reversal of position on charter change. And Malaysia declares a day of mourning as bodies of MH17 victims arrive in Kuala Lumpur.
Good evening, I'm Junior Roy Cabinti. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network every day. Here are tonight's headlines. The Philippines Anti-Graft Court, the Sandigan Bayan, suspends Juan Ponce Enrile as senator this Friday. The court also rejected Enrile's motion of reconsideration. The Senate should implement Enrile's suspension in 5 days. Senate President Frank Drilon said that the Senate will abide court decision and Enrile's suspension will be lifted in 90 days. Enrile along Senators Bong Revilla and Jingoy Estrada faces plunder and graft charges for the alleged siphoning of public funds for ghost projects run by alleged mastermind Janet Napoles. Budget Secretary and LP stalwart Florencio Abad scrambles to understand President Benigno Aquino's changing position in charter change. John Howard Roque reports.
The Liberal Party plans to meet to clarify President Benigno Aquino's third stance on charter change, a meeting foreseen to be passionate and animated. On Friday, August 22, Budget Secretary and LP stalwart Florencio Abad, who suggested holding the meeting, told Rappler he does not think the meeting will be heated, but agreed there will be an intense exchange of ideas given the seriousness of the topic. To amend the charter, whether for economic or political purposes or both, is a fundamental decision not just for a party in power, but for a society. It is about revisiting the basic legal framework of a society whose main reason for being is to circumscribe the vast power of the government. That requires serious deliberation, Abad told Rappler in a text message. LP officials are also expected to discuss whether there are compelling reasons for charter change. If there is sufficient ground to justify reconsideration of the President's position on charter change, we need to first understand what is driving it and what direction it should proceed, he said. While there is no set date for the meeting for now, Abad anticipates sideline discussions regarding the topic and said there will be likely caucuses among members sharing the same views in preparation for that meeting. A day earlier, Drilon told reporters he endorsed the call of Abad to hold the meeting to put the issue to rest. The meeting is to clarify that what the President actually said is he is not interested in a second term. He is not interested in amending the Constitution during his term, so this issue can be finally put to rest. Drilon also said that there have been no talks on pushing for charter change, and Malacanang itself has said the President is not interested in amending the Constitution during his term. In an interview on TV5 last week, Aquino said he will listen to the voice of the people regarding an extended term, but said it does not mean he will pursue it. Currently, the Constitution bars the re-election of a president after one 6-year term. In the same interview, the President also said he was against charter change in the past. He changed his views after recent events made him think that there may be a need to balance the three branches of the government properly to constitutional amendments.
He acknowledged, however, that charter change would mean entering dangerous territory because while there are provisions that could get fine-tuned and updated, he's concerned with the good provisions that could get diluted. John Roque, Rappler.
State Agency, Pag-asa spot a low-pressure area around 110 kilometers east of the Philippine Sea. Dean Ginto will report the weather update.
Weather update. As of today, the Pag-asa triggered the LPA near East Philippine Sea. It has a speed of 110 kilometers per hour east to northwest of Philippine Area Responsibility. Tomorrow at 5 a.m. will be the expected landfall of the said typhoon. It will be named Typhoon Kanor. Be safe. This has been Dean Ginto for the weather update, Rappler.
In a unanimous decision, Indonesia's Constitutional Court on Thursday rejects former General Prabowo's lawsuit challenging the results on the presidential elections last July 9. Charlotte Jumanggit reports.
Widely expected decision, the Constitutional Court on Thursday, August 21, completely rejected former General Prabowo Subianto's lawsuit challenging the result of Indonesia's presidential election. The 9 justices took turns over almost 7 hours reading different parts of the verdict, which is final and binding, that essentially stated Probowo's allegation of massive, structural and systematic electoral fraud were not proven. The court's Chief Justice Habdan Zuelva said the court was rejecting the entire petition from the appellant. There were no dissenting opinion. In a key point, the court ruled that the General Election Commission (KPU) implementation of the Special Voters List for Unregistered Voters known as DKPP was legal. Probowi's camp had argued KPU's implementation did not follow the law, but the court ruled that the Election Commission had the authority to decide on that. The court also declared as a valid the use of Papua's traditional no-can voting system, where the leaders vote on behalf of the entire tribe, and so no revote was warranted. The decision affirms the General Election Commission (KPU) July 22 declaration of Joko Jokowi Widodo and running mate Yusuf Kala as winner of the divisive presidential election with 53.15% of the vote cast, or an 8 million lead over Prabowo and his running mate Hatta Rajasa.
A spokesman for outgoing President Cecilio Bangbangyo Johono said ahead of the verdict that the leader hoped the ruling will be accepted by all Indonesian people. Charlotte Jumangit, Rappler.
Malaysians paused for a minute of silence Friday for a nationwide day of mourning as they welcomed the remains of 20 of 43 of its citizens killed in the Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 last July 17. Santea Villaperte reports.
Malaysians paused for a minute of silence on Friday for the nationwide day of mourning as they welcomed the remains of 20 of 43 of its citizens killed in the Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 last July 17. Malaysians across the country of 28 million went silent at 10:55 a.m., about an hour after a Malaysia Airlines flight landed with the remains of 20 people killed when MH17 was blasted from the sky by a suspected surface-to-air missile over Ukraine on July 17. Malaysia's King Abdul Halim Wadzam Shah, Prime Minister Najib Razak, and the other top officials were on hand to receive the coffins in a solemn ceremony at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Flags were flown at half-mast nationwide, and authorities had earlier asked citizens of the Muslim-majority country to refrain from festive activities and to don black out of respect for the victims. Commuters streaming into the bustling streets to the capital Kuala Lumpur earlier in the morning were overwhelmingly black-clad, including many Muslim women in black Islamic headscarves, as state television aired recitations from the Quran and photos of the Malaysian victims. Dozens of Malaysia Airlines cabin crew and pilots gathered near the welcoming ceremony in their blue uniforms, holding Malaysian flags and flowers to honor their deceased colleagues. Santea Villaperte, Rappler.
Indiana Pacers forward Paul George suffers a compound leg fracture at Team USA scrimmage last August 2. Micaela De San Juan reports.
Indiana Pacers forward Paul George suffered a grisly lower right leg injury on Friday in a United States intra-squad scrimmage in preparation for the Basketball World Cup. ESPN is reporting that the 24-year-old George sustained a compound fracture in his tibia and fibula and will have surgery to get a pin placed in his leg. George is expected to spend 2 to 3 days in the hospital. Yahoo reports that George had no ancillary damage, but would still likely miss the 2014-2015 season. The injury was bad enough that the exhibition before fans at the Thomas N. Mack Center was immediately halted and George was quickly hospitalized. The Pacers' small forward landed hard and his leg buckled horribly near the basket stanchion after he had fouled James Harden on a drive early in the fourth quarter of the contest. Harden immediately doubled over in shock upon seeing the injury to his U.S. teammate and medical personnel. U.S. coach Mike and members of George's family attending the game moved to comfort the stricken player. Colangelo said decision about the final U.S. selection for Basketball World Cup to be held in Spain August 30 to September 14 would take a backseat to making sure George was cared for properly. Our primary concern is Paul George, he said. And so as an organization, we're just going to let a little bit of time go by here Before we address rosters for any of that stuff, it seems unimportant. George has been an all-star each of the last 2 years. He averaged 21.7 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 3.5 assists in 80 games last season for the Pacers, who lost to Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. The injury brings back painful memories of Louisville Cardinals basketball player Kevin Ware, who suffered a similar injury in an NCAA game in March of 2013. Ware returned to the court 8 months later, swishing a three-pointer on his first shot in November of that year.
None of the players on the court with Paul George spoke to the media. However, Houston Rockets guard Harden was among Paul George NBA colleagues. To use Twitter to wish the injured player well. Micaela de San Juan, Rappler.
Actor Robin Williams is found dead. Laika Malyari reports.
Award-winning actor Robin Williams is found dead in his home in California. Tuesday, Manila time, California police suspects Williams committed suicide from suffocation by asphyxia. Williams had openly spoken in the past his troubles with alcohol and drugs. His wife Susan Schinder said in the statement, quote, "I am utterly heartbroken on behalf of Robin's family. We are asking for privacy during our time of profound grief." Williams earned Oscar nomination as an inspirational English literature in Dead's Poets Society, and playing a mentally ill homeless man mourning the loss of his wife in 1991 movie, The Fisher King. He finally landed a coveted Oscar for 1997's Good Will Hunting, which helped launch the Hollywood careers of co-star Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Like a Malyari, Rappler.
DOTC Secretary Abaya talks with Rappler about the MRT-3's derailing accident. The train line's worst mishap to date. Rachel Cunanan reports.
On August 13, 2014, a Metro Rail transit train derailed and breached the safety barriers of the terminal in southern Metro Manila, injuring at least 36 passengers. The youngest victim was 6 months old. Shortly after the incident, the DOTC MRT-3 issued an advisory on its official Twitter account, citing a technical problem. Light Rail Transit Authority and MRT-3 spokesman Hernando Cabrera said, the train coach lost power between the Magallanes and Taft stations a little over past 4 p.m. that day. Another train came to its rescue. It linked with the stalled train and started to push it to the next nearest station, all part of standard procedure. Cabrera explained that in the process, the two trains became uncoupled or delinked. Since the stalled train, which was in front, had no power, its brakes were automatically locked. The driver could not regulate the speed, causing the train to derail. Immediately following the incident, the government began its probe on the cause of the derailment. Abaya said the investigation will determine the cause of the accident, if it was a technical or human error. On the day of the train system's worst accident to date, Abaya defended the train system's maintenance. There's no lapse in our maintenance. The little that I know so far, there might be a lapse in the procedure, rather than a failure parts or failure in main. But again, I'm not closing the fact, but we have to investigate and share to the public the real cause. The following day, Abaya admitted the line is overdue for an upgraded, but insisted the line was still safe. My conscience is clear. Government is acting and doing the right thing. At the end of the day, to be safe, we won't run it if it's not safe. On August 19, Tuesday, Abaya said the two train drivers involved in the incident failed to follow safety procedures in the train's coupling procedure. The Transport Department also found out that there was poor coordination between the drivers and managers of the Magallanes and Taft stations. The train drivers and personnel face administrative charges. Rachel Cunanan, Rappler.
This has been Rappler, your newscast for today. This is Junior Cabiting signing off. Good night, everyone.